shared it with the group.
Well, it's if you do a public forum, there's no like infringement. Well, you can just it's actually one of the yeah, I don't think full caption.
Oh, sorry. I just went to talk
You downstairs.
Where the microphone? Oh yeah, there is.
Oh, what in there?
Yeah.
Well, it's not my meeting. I'm in the end. I just spoke to the chair.
What's one they lost?
Yeah.
By the way, I just spoke to the chair. She wasn't aware that my statement had been redacted.
They can, do you think they'll unredact it? Do you think
No, I think a crime has been committed. The monitoring officer's not allowed to redact something as the officer advises to the chair.
Okay. That's another, just add it to the list.
This is the situation when you find yourself trapped. You have to make a decision.
Yeah.
And there's no good decisions to be made.
No. Oh, add it to the list. Go for it. You know, you're winning.
On one level. Testing.
Good afternoon, everybody. Lovely to see so many residents interested in our democratic processes. We've got a change with the agenda. We're going to be having a public forum, and then we're going to move Stoke Lodge, item 7, up to the top of the agenda, because we have Tim O'Gara, who is going to be supporting questions on Stoke Lodge. Okay, so thank you, Tim, for coming. So, welcome to you all. I don't think I need to run through safety instructions, but if I do, we gather outside, in the case of fire, we gather outside the front door. We have one apology from Jude English, who is away at present. Otherwise, the committee is the same as usual. Oh, Philippa, I didn't hear from her. Oh, has she? Well, we wish her well. It's, hope that she gets better very soon. Thank you. Declarations of interest. Do we have any declarations of interest? No, thank you. And moving on to the minutes of the previous meeting. Do we have any questions about the minutes? Any points of order? No? Okay. So we're going to move on. Have we? Yes. Would somebody second the minutes agreement? Thank you. And they've been approved. Thank you. moving on to public forum. I've only just received a list of people who, do you all want to speak? I have a list here which I've only just seen, I'm sorry. I've been away and working on another project. Okay? Helen?
Are we going to do questions first or statements?
We're going to do public forum first.
Questions or statements or both?
Questions, please. Thank you. Alan, would you like to give us your first question?
Yes.
Thank you.
Is the microphone working?
Press the button.
Press the button. On the desk, that's it. There you go.
I think I've got it. Thank you, Madam Chairman. The question was basically what was the motivation behind the decision to contest the TVG in collaboration with Cotton, and if it was the officers who in fact they were motivated simply by the...
Somebody's filming us over there.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Is it not allowed for the public to film the meeting?
What's that?
He's fucking up there.
Just for clarity for all those present, it is this is a public meeting and any member of the public may record the meeting.
Thank you. Is it on YouTube as well? Is it going to be on YouTube?
We are not recording this meeting as a council, so it will not be broadcast. Right, I'll continue. What I wanted to know, what was the motivation of the officers to make the decision to proceed on the side of Cotton and to risk all the expenses, and if it was not the officers but the officers were in fact directed to, what was the motivation of the executives that made the direction?
Anne Nugent, who is our representative for the CRA, is unfortunately away. Tim doesn't feel he's appropriate to answer that question. Would you like to ask the question a slightly different way? I'm sorry that...
I think it's a very straightforward question. What is the motivation, as opposed to say that, well, in fact, we have no idea what the motivation. Is it to protect Stoke Lodge so it can be developed? Or is it because the school asked? I'd be very curious to know what the motivation was, because it seems so contrary to the decisions of the committee.
I think it's up to you, Tim.
Chair, I'm not in a position to give the member of the public a view as to the motivation of council officers generally or specifically with regards to the ongoing litigation in respect of the Town and Village Green application at Stoke Lodge. Neither am I in a position to furnish you with a view of the executive. You may wish to direct your question to the executive. They have been party to this litigation as the landowner, and I think it would be appropriate that you direct your question to them in that capacity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alan. Moving on, Cathy Bowen is our second question.
Response to my question, and I would like to ask a supplementary question. And that is this. The officer response is that the CRA took a decision to be bound by the inter-parties costs cap. Parties costs cap proposed prior to the hearing in January. The terms of this were that each defendant's liability to pay the costs of the claimant is limited to £20,000. It appears that Cotton School is now attempting to unilaterally change those terms. Please could the committee confirm that if a draft consent order is presented to it on behalf of Cotton School in terms that differ from the draft order circulated prior to the hearing on 24th of January, it should not be signed by any BCC officer without specific agreement to those different terms.
Thank you. Would you like to answer? I think you have to tell the...
Chair, I'm not in a position to answer that question, I'm afraid.
Who is?
I think you've had your question.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Moving on, we've got a third question with Emma Burgess. Thank you. So we're going to go on to statements. Just to tell you that, of course, we are running late, but public forum is normally lasting 30 minutes, so if you can keep yourselves quite brief, and that would be great. Thank you. I've got Helen here. Helen Powell.
Thank you. A number of the statements today rightly thank the committee for its determination across all parties, and actually regardless of how members personally voted in June 2023, that the democratic decision of this committee must be upheld. That's important, it seems to me, way beyond Stoke Lodge Village Green, and particularly as we head towards May the 2nd. So thank you very much for that. Now, the community and the CRA stand together to defend your decision to register Stoke Lodge. And yet, CRA officers have continued to work with representatives of Cotton School while excluding Cathy Wellham, your co-defendant. The most efficient way to defend this claim is for us to work together, but that's difficult if CRA officers are apparently talking to Cotton's representatives and then hiding their actions behind litigation privilege. They need to realise that Cotton, not the community, is the opposing party in this litigation. The legal arguments depend on our evidence. Whether Cotton decides to continue with its Section 14 claim or drop it in favour of a judicial review, we need to be able to trust that officers are not going to continue with that sort of conduct.
Thank you, Helen. Thank you for the thanks. Thanks.
I know, so is that correct? That we're only dealing with one side and not...
Cotton, we have representatives from Cotton School, but I think we've not had any questions or statements from them, as far as I'm aware.
Just seems really strange.
I guess that's their choice. Okay. Philippa Nason. Yes, of course. Tim would like to say something.
Just in response to the question that Councillor Jackson has asked, the council is conducting this litigation in the same way that it would, liaising with the legal representatives from all parties to the litigation.
Sounds like they're not. The lady just said they're not.
May I? It is correct that there has been correspondence between the CRA solicitors and Cotton School solicitors, which have specifically excluded Cathy.
Thank you.
I'm not in a position to question you at this point, but I think both parties are welcome to write in, and we can take it from there if you want to set up a meeting. That's something that we could offer. Philippa Nason, would you like to make a statement? No. Julie Wright? Perhaps rather than going through the whole list, is there anybody else who would like to speak, make a statement? And your name?
Stephanie French.
Stephanie French.
Thank you, Stephanie. If you'd like to go ahead.
I submitted a statement to the committee in advance of this meeting. my only oral bit to add to that, and I don't think I'm going to get an answer based on what's happened already this afternoon, is that I would just like Bristol City Council to show that it is not duplicitous by answering the question that we've asked several times as to which officer or officers decided that the Commons Registration Authority should not support the decision of the Proud Committee. But I don't think you're going to answer that, are you?
Thank you. Is there anybody else? Yes. Your name?
Yes, that one.
Mine's just a summary of what I put in. I'd like, how can there be any confidence in our city's administrators upholding public standards in office while the authors of this ruinous mismanagement go uncensured?
Thank you very much. David?
Madam Chairman and committee members, I hope you've had the opportunity to read my public statement because I intend to go further here and now. Firstly, I must personally thank the Chairman for the leadership and resolve she has displayed throughout these difficult and unprecedented times, and whilst I regret her decision to stand down, I wish her luck in her future endeavours. I must also pass on a big thank you to all the committee members for their unity and support in defending the purpose and authority of this committee. However, all this well-deserved praise is in stark contrast with the absolute contempt which I hold the perpetrators and conspirators sneaking around in the shadows, plotting and planning to subvert the rule of law in pursuit of some undisclosed and secret objective, all funded at the ratepayers' expense. How do we expose their true motivation?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just remind people that this is very emotional, but also, not to go over the top in terms of your descriptions. Thank you. Is there anybody else? Oh, Dan.
Shall I come down or shall I just shout?
Sorry, we had to move rooms, as you all know.
I'll just shout. Point of order, the person who asked the supplementary question.
Is this a question or
This is a statement. The person who asked the supplementary question that was unable to be answered today, they should probably get a written response, in my opinion. I am very annoyed to see that my statements have been redacted. I don't know what the process is for that redaction, but I did not believe what I said was actually defamatory. I'll probably have to speak to you afterwards about exactly how the statement was redacted, because it seems perfectly fine to me, and I'm going to say it. I do not have full faith that this council is being run in a perfectly legal way.
Thank you.
Chairman, I've got a public forum statement from a different agenda item. I wonder if you want to deal with Stoke Lodge first and then move on, or do you want to take them all now?
Why don't we have yours make a change? And then we're going to go into Stoke Lodge.
Move to where there's a microphone, and hopefully somewhat less controversial. So this is on Agenda 8, which is the Ridge Hill Town and Village Green application. I'm here essentially to urge you that you can and should make a decision on this today. The report tells you that you can decide this on the paperwork unless there is significant conflict or significant objection. There were 3 objections listed in the report. One from the landowner. The report itself tells you it's baseless because it's based on a planning application that was submitted after the TVG. There's one from a neighbour which, although it questions how many people knew of the application, it doesn't actually dispute any of the facts that the application is based on. In fact, it confirms that this piece of land has been used by the community for some years. And the third so-called objection at Appendix 7, I don't believe is actually an objection at all. It describes the history of the land, but it doesn't object to it being a TVG. So you've got one baseless objection, one objection that isn't an objection at all, and one objection that actually substantiates what the applicants are saying. That leaves you with the 4 legal tests for a TVG, and as of Friday afternoon, you now have access, I hope you've all received by email, 26 different statements from 46 residents in that area, backed up by a set of photographs that, as far as I can see, quite clearly demonstrate that the 4 tests are met, which means that you can, and indeed should, make the decision today and designate it as a village green. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. That's great. And that refers to the Ridge Hill TVG application, which will be coming after Stoke Lodge. So, Tim, would you like to pick us off for Stoke Lodge, where we've got to, and then John's also going to talk. Okay, yes, if you summarise, that would be brilliant, and then if you...
So my verbal update is very simple. The previous meeting was quite lively, quite a lot of noise, just to be clear. There was a court hearing following that particular meeting. And just to clarify, the CRA's stance, which in January was neutral, has now changed. The CRA's stance is now that it will defend robustly the decision that the Public Rights of Way Committee took in June 2023. That has happened, and there's been an acceptance of service, and the court will now be aware of that. And the barrister acting on behalf of Bristol City Council, the Douglas Edwards KC, is fully aware of what the council's stance now is. That's all I want to say, because I know that there is litigation taking place. There are 2 pieces of litigation, and there are some key dates, and I think Tim will talk us through the key dates, possibly.
Yes, thank you, Chair.
Stop you. Would you like to just say exactly who you are and what you do? Because I was thinking there's probably people here who don't actually know.
Yes, thank you, Chair. My name's Tim O'Gara. I'm the Director of Legal and Democratic Services. I'm a practising solicitor.
Thank you.
So the Section 14 litigation that Councillor Galandris has just referred to, the next significant date in respect of that litigation is the 13th of May, where there will be a case management hearing. As you will all be aware, there is a separate piece of litigation, which is a judicial review claim. At the end of last week, those proceedings, which had up until that point been stayed in light of the Section 14 proceedings, that stay was lifted by an order of Sir Peter Lane on the 9th of April, and therefore the Council is required to file an acknowledgement of service and summary grounds for resisting the judicial review claim by the end of April. Those are the key dates at the moment, Chair, but happy to clarify anything further.
Thank you. Could people ask questions? Is that
Members of the committee may ask questions, Chair? Yes, of course.
Committee, it's open to you. Do you have some questions to ask about where we've got to with Stoke Lodge?
I think John's explanations were good, and we know when the next meeting is, so we're happy with that.
Thank you, Chris.
Can I just say something? I mean, it's not about questions. Can I just make a point, if possible? I've sat here kind of with my head in my hands because I've come onto this committee, I think it's my 2nd meeting, and I'm just finding the whole process completely and utterly confounding. And I think members of the public deserve to have explanations to their questions. Their questions aren't unreasonable. Their statements haven't been unreasonable. And I just feel that if people have taken the time to come here, that they should actually get a response. Now, I know, Tim, it's not your case, but surely there should be somebody who can you could put up from the office who could respond. There must be more than one person working on this case or having a working knowledge. But it just feels to me as if the council is not being open about information, and the public require and it actually sets up a kind of a relationship of distrust, which is really unhealthy. I mean, this is quite a difficult, complex case, but I just feel that members of the public deserve more and better, I'm afraid. And I just, sitting here, I just don't feel that they've had good service today. Really poor service, actually. And I just feel that as moving forward, we need to make sure, as a committee, that we actually serve the public well, and we, the officers come, I'm not having a go at you, Tim, about this, but I just feel that officers should come with the correct information to respond to those questions and statements, because people have submitted statements and questions in advance. We know what is coming our way, and actually we have a duty as an authority to respond appropriately. Sorry, my rant over. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jess. I actually support what you're saying.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, obviously I'm pleased that the CRA has changed its position and will now robustly defend the decision of the committee. But what I am unhappy about is the fact that it took a different position in the first place. And despite all our probing and questioning, we've never been able to elicit why that decision was taken.
Thank you very much, Councillor. They're both good questions. Would either of you like to put forward a suggestion that we can take further?
Well, we have the appropriate officers in the room, and that people come furnished with the appropriate level of information, because blocking members of the public is just not healthy. It's really not a healthy position. It makes me feel really uncomfortable. And so preparation for these meetings, actually, in terms of the room, we could have predicted that members of the public were going to turn up today. So we end up by being in the wrong room. They have to come down here. That wastes time. It's not good for anybody to start a meeting late. So we should actually anticipate this, and officers, should come prepared.
Yes. Thank you.
Chair, I think it's important for the committee to note that we are in some very unique circumstances with the State Lodge litigation, and unlike any other litigation that the council deals with, it is not the subject of extensive debate in committees, and there's a reason for that, because we need to ensure that the council is able to conduct that litigation without the wider questioning. It almost feels like, I have to say, that we're conducting the litigation in here, and this is not a court of law. And I would just remind the committee that we have to be very careful about what we say when there is live litigation, as Councillor Galandris said a little earlier. And I apologise to the committee if you haven't got all the answers that you want. That is in part deliberate on my part, because I won't talk extensively about ongoing litigation in a public meeting, but I would be more than happy to brief the committee in executive session if required. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. I put it back to the committee. Do you want to go into an exam session now?
John, will it serve us?
It's up to the committee.
Yeah, I mean, if you obviously furnish with the information, do you think it will be better?
Microphone, please.
I don't think it would serve any purpose at this time for that to happen. And a lot of us won't be here next time.
Going to executive session, going to executive session, I think the public might get quite irritated. I think we've irritated the public sufficiently today. We've tested their patience considerably, I suggest.
Thank you. Fine. Perhaps that's something to do after May the 2nd. So, I think we're drawing Stoke Lodge to a close. Is there anything else that the committee would like to say on this at this point? Has anybody got anything, or Joe?
I suppose the only thing to say is it's just picking up a point which has come from the public, which is that obviously Relham is actually our co-defendant. So Bristol City Council and Cathy are co-defending the claim from Cotton School. So a plea from me simply to work constructively and collaboratively with our co-defendant, and I'm sure Till will confirm that that will be the case.
I second that. Sounds like a good idea.
Is that correct?
We will continue to conduct the litigation in the way that we have been thus far, in a professional and way, as you would expect from the Council's in-house legal service.
No, that's the question.
Okay, that's fine. All right, that's where we've got to. Okay, we're going to move on to item 6, which is current claims, inquiries and miscellaneous rights of way. And Duncan, this is, you're going to be leading on this. Could I just point out, in the last minutes, there were 3 questions, which was around Argyle Place. You were going to update us at this meeting on the consultant and how that's going, and also on, there was a question from one of the committee about Brow EC/487. So there were just 3 points that I picked out that you need to update on. But I was just trying to be efficient. You know?
Yeah, okay, so certainly, well, good afternoon, councillors. Just do those 3 questions first. Argyle Place will be coming to the next committee in June.
Yes, I think it was you were going to update us on it.
In which particular, could you read out a minute, just to refresh my memory?
One sec. I'd have to go through. It was, I think it was how it was going. It was just an update, really.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so but at the last committee, the intention was to bring 2 DMOs to the meeting today. One was South Hayes, which is actually on the agenda, which we'll come to next. We'd hoped to get Argyle Place here as well, but we haven't managed to get that to legal services. It's with legal services now, but it wasn't in time. There's also a number of different landowner issues we need to resolve, but our current plan is to bring this to the next committee in June.
Brilliant.
On there. And indeed, looking at the report, I'm just going to run through the DMOs that we'll be taking in future. So we have Argyle Place in June, and then in October we plan to bring Ridge Hill and also the Stoke Lodge claims as well in October.
Yeah.
In terms of the second question, the consultant, we have now appointed a rights of way consultant to deal with outstanding DMOs, so different claims. And we will be passing our first order to them shortly, which will then go to hopefully the October committee. And once they've done that one, we'll hopefully then pass subsequent DMOs to them as well, to reduce the backlog down from that, whilst also working on them ourselves, so we'll have hopefully 2 streams going at the same time to bring DMO claims down to something more recent than 1998.
Great, thank you. Thank you on those points.
Nothing else that I would like to say on that particular report. If there's any questions that you have on the report, then please feel free to ask.
Yeah, a couple of things, please. I'd like to ask, under the public path orders section, Brislington East, that's obviously the Brislington Meadows application that went in recently. I understand that if there were objections to that, it would go to the Secretary of State for approval. Can you confirm what the situation is with that?
So, could you just say, I didn't, sorry, you know I have hearing loss. Could you just, what was the start?
So, this is Brislington Meadows.
Oh, okay, fine.
In public path orders, there's a request to reroute a whole load of public rights of way on Brislington Meadows. The request went in, objections have been made. I wanted to find out what the next stage of that is, because it says order made, but I don't quite understand what order made means in this context.
I'm surprised we haven't had information about that, Duncan, because that's a major...
It doesn't come to this committee because it's planning.
I'm sorry, you have to speak up.
It's because it's a Town and Country Planning Act order. It goes to the planning officers rather than coming via this committee. It's not through this delegation.
Oh, I see. So when does it end up coming to us?
It won't. So
no, but because it's in the paper, I just didn't...
Yeah, so it's within our works for our team, but we do the works on behalf of the planning authority.
Okay.
So it goes to the planning officer. Those objections, were made. I haven't gone to the pins yet, but they will be imminently. Did you make a?
I did.
I'll make sure you get a confirmation when they've gone through the pins. It's not been sent through by us. It's been sent through by the solicitor and the planning officer. But we'll be informed on it. So
okay. Thank you. Yeah, if I could be kept up to date, that would be great. And the second one is under enforcement actions and long-standing obstructed prow. The dates on some of these are phenomenal, and a lot of them just say long-standing now. I'm particularly interested in the one at Sherwell Road, Brislington East, which does say future improvement scheme. But I'm wondering, in the context of some of these dates, what future is likely to mean.
I've mentioned in the past with a lot of these enforcement cases, is what you don't see is this list get longer. These are long-standing cases that will take quite a considerable amount of officer time to deal with. However, when we do get obstructions, recent obstructions or things that come to light now, we deal with them straight away so they become long-standing. As you know, we have a very small team. We have 2 full-time officers in the team. There's a request, obviously, to reduce the DMO backlog. There's also a lot of line plan applications, like Bristol Meadows that you just mentioned, and it's basically a question of prioritising those. So whilst the ambition is to get to these long-standing ones, they are further down the priority list than current live works that deal with obstructions and things that are actually taking place now, and the obstructions that are taking place now. Generally speaking, just ask Theo the 409 to know this one. Sorry, that was 409.
We changed our approach, didn't we?
We certainly did with dealing with the DLMOs, correct. Rather than doing them in date order, we deal with ones that are actually obstructed. If ones are open, even though something might be very old, if people are still enjoying the route and with the access available, then that's gone further down the list. So we're dealing with routes that are actually obstructed to open up public rights where possible.
Yeah, I mean, the details of this one are that it's like it's a lane along the back of, there's a lane along the back of houses which has been blocked, but that's not the actual prow. The prow is like alongside that in the overgrowth that's really overgrown, and the long and short of it is probably the resolution for these will be quite a lot of money and resources to get them cleared, and we are working on them, but it's just when we get to, when we've got that time and money to set aside to spend money on them.
Is it council-owned land, that one? Or is it private?
It might be. I'd have to double check.
Okay, because that obviously makes a difference to us.
Well, we can't enforce against this, so we kind of have to either get the parks officers or whoever has the ownership to do it, or we have to just do it ourselves.
Okay, can I just ask, could you send me some detail on that if you've got it, just so that I know exactly what it's about in case I get inquiries? Thanks.
Thank you. Chris, you had a question.
Yeah, it says on here in the claim footpath for Airport Road to William Road, it says, awaiting investigation, routes currently unobstructed. I can assure you they are obstructed, they've got huge great big barriers across. So, I'd like to know what your stand is that.
Yeah, sorry, which one was that?
Claim footpath from Airport Road to William Road, reference GMO 414.
Okay, I'll check that one and come back to
There's
you.
big metal barriers and they've been there since they started construction of the Bob Block house and they are still, and there's also one from William Road to Morton Road, which is blocked off as well. So where it says currently citing an obstructed deal.
Okay, we'll check on that one. We'll check on that one.
I just want to follow up on what you were saying about what your priorities are. I know we changed it so that the priorities for this committee were to clear stuff that's not publicly accessible, but you mentioned something about getting involved planning applications. How much of officer time for this committee is taken up dealing with planning applications as opposed to work for this committee?
Okay, that's a good question. So I'll just clarify my understanding. So it's a question of how much time we spend preparing for this committee rather than work outside the committee.
Well, yeah, you've got there's a list of works from what I've seen since I've sat on this committee. There's a list of works for this team to be getting on with, and what you've just said to us is that sometimes you're a really small team, but actually you get pulled away to look at planning things.
Okay.
So my question is, how much actual time is spent doing this as opposed to doing other pieces of work that I'm sure are very legitimate, but if we're going to get through this list, we need officer time in order to get through it. Otherwise, we're just going to come back again and again and again and again, and nothing's going to move on.
Yeah.
We want this moved on from this committee's perspective.
So that's one of the reasons why we've employed this consultant to actually take away some of the work from us that we can't get around to doing these DMLO applications. Because when plan applications come in, and there are a lot of applications come in, I don't know off the top of my head, Thea may have more of an indication than myself as to how much time we spend on plan applications, but it is quite a large proportion of our time, because we want to make sure that we take into account anything that may affect public rights of way, opportunities to open up public rights of way, opportunities to open up public access. So we like to spend our time on that because it can actually reduce claims in the future, it can improve public access, it can improve works, and also the quality of paths and things. So we do spend a lot of time on that. We are also now trying, as I said, pick up on some of the DMOs, but also deal with the backlog through some consultants as well, recognising that we can't have this long list for much longer. It's been there too long.
Thank you. That's a really good question. Do you want to?
Well, now I want to move on to who pays for the consultants, because you have a budget. Is it coming out of because your budget is for the work you're doing? If you're then pulled away to do planning things and you need to bring in somebody else, they need to be paid. So is it planning that's paying for that consultant? I mean, I know it's all like one big pot, but I am interested to understand how it is that this committee's officers are being taken off to do something else, and therefore this work has been deprioritised because somebody somewhere has considered something else to be more important for you to be doing.
So we have two full-time officers in the public rights of way team. We also have a part-time officer who actually retires on Wednesday after 49 years working on rights of way. Now, so for the past 3 or 4 years, she's been working on consolidating the definitive map. So you'll know that our definitive map is currently based on 1966, and we're trying to get that up to date by working on legal event modification orders, and she's been working on that specifically for the past 3 or 4 years. And actually, we're very close now to the point where we can consolidate that and basically bring the 1966 map up to current times. Now, because she's retiring, I'll be using the saving from her salary to pay for the consultant to get some of these DMOs down until such times as we then recruit someone, probably an apprentice trainee type person. Public rights of way officers are sort of hard to get experienced rights of way officers, so the idea is to bring an apprentice and then train them up. But for the time being, whilst we go through that process, we're going to use a salary saving from that position to pay for the consultant.
So in answer to my question, then planning aren't contributing to this department even though they're using the officers?
I don't know the answer to that question. No part of the planning application fee comes to my team as far as I'm aware.
I think we need to look into that. Can we note that, please?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, very good question, and it would be great to see the PRAG team a little bit more recompensed for their planning work. Any more questions?
just to say, I think Mary Knight has worked for Bristol City Council in your team for 48 years, so I think we would all like to say thank you to her and we wish her very well in her retirement.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Great job as well. Finish up that now.
I am sad.
I hope she's doing something
Duncan will
other
know.
than that.
49 years and 2 months.
So, we're moving on to item 7, which is a DMMO, which I always forget what it stands for. But Duncan, thank you very much. Are you going to be kicking off with this, or Tom, are you going to?
No, Theo will be presenting this report for me.
Pardon?
Theo will be presenting this report.
Is he here?
Yes, next week.
Oh, sorry, Ed. Sorry, Theo, we've only met once a long time ago.
So this is the definitive map modification order for between South Hayes and Heath House Lane. I'll just run through, you've all had the report, so I'll just run through my notes for now.
I was just actually going to, sorry, I'm going to interrupt you. I just wanted to say to the committee what our role is, because I looked it up. So basically, our role is to decide whether or not we have proved that the public has enjoyed the space without interruption for a full period of 20 years. That is our decision today. Do you like to add to that? It'll be in your... Okay. I just thought that was very very clear.
Yes, thank you. I'll just run through this. So on the 15th of March 2007, a DMMO application was validated requesting a route to be added to the definitive mapping statement from South Hayes and Parkside Gardens to Heath House Lane in the Lockleys area of Bristol. The claim was made under Section 53 of the Wildlife and Countryside Act 1981, which allows modifications to the definitive map to be considered based on 20 years use. Research was undertaken using historical mapping obtained from Bristol's GIS data and the Modern Records Office. This is maps from 1839 up until present day, including things like tide maps, ordnance survey maps and aerial photography. This historic research found no clear evidence that the routes were laid out, but it also didn't show any evidence that they'd been obstructed or there was reasons that they couldn't exist. So therefore, for this section, there's no real clear evidence either way as to whether or not the routes existed. As for the user evidence, there was 13 witness evidence forms provided for use between 1960 and 2005 when use of the routes was challenged. And there's no clear evidence in any of the user witness that any of the users were ever challenged in the relevant 20-year period, which is 1985 to 2005. The current landowners of the land in question, for the northern part, Bristol City Council Parks, it forms part of the wider Stoke Park estate, and a company called Bureaucrats Enterprises Limited for the southern section. It's that southern section that where the route was brought into question when gates were erected and then locked. The landowners haven't provided any information on the 1985 to 2005 relevant period, and it's worth pointing out that although they were notified and had correspondence with the council at the time when the claim was made, we haven't been able to get in touch with them in more recent times. So to conclude, and I've gone over this a little bit, but the statutory test to be considered is whether a way over any land has been actually enjoyed by the public as of right and without interruption for a full period of 20 years. Should this be the case, the way is deemed to have been dedicated as a highway unless there is sufficient evidence that there was no intention during that period to dedicate it. The evidence shows that the claimed routes have been used as of right and without interruption by the public for a period of 20 years to 2005, when the public's rights to use the way was brought into question by the locking of gates preventing access to Heath House Lane from South Hayes and Parkside Gardens. this was previously accessing to open and undeveloped fields. In conclusion, the available evidence shows that on the balance of probabilities, a presumption of dedication of the public path between points A and D and B and D, as per the map in the appendices, has been raised, and so the report recommends that the order can be made under section 53(2)(b of the Wildlife and Countryside Act 1981 to add the claimed public footpath to the definitive mapping statement on the basis of the occurrence of an event. It also recommends that the Council confirms the order if it is unopposed, or asks the Secretary of State to confirm if it is opposed.
Yes.
Yeah, if we confirm it, is it then that they can oppose it? Or is it, how does that work?
So it gets advertised on site?
Yeah, but so we've got to make a decision first to see whether that decision is going to be opposed by whoever the party it is. So there hasn't been an opposition, anything like it, to oppose it coming yet. So we've got to make the decision first, and then
we advertise it on site.
If we decide to add it to the definitive map, then they can oppose it, and then it goes to the Secretary of State. Exactly. I just wanted clarification.
Good question. Councillor.
Thank you. Yes, 1985 to 2005 is quite a long time ago. Is there any time limit on this? Or can you go back to any 20-year period and consider that to be a still valid period?
So it might fall under other historic information, but I mean, yes, it can be any period. And I guess the reason this legislation exists is because a definitive map was drawn up, and a route is not included on that definitive map. So in theory, most things would be post 1966, which, as Duncan mentioned earlier, was the relevant date of when our map was last updated.
Okay, thank you.
Tim?
Yeah, it seems to me that the bulk of the evidence that we're considering here is the statements from the 16 or so people who've said that they've used the pathway over the last, or for a period of longer than 20 years before the gates were put in. Am I right in thinking that the people who were the landowners during that period we're no longer able to contact them? Is that right? That is.
Yeah, that's correct. But it is for the landowners to present that evidence that. Yeah.
So the current landowners weren't the people who owned the land during the period that we're discussing, and therefore they don't really have the ability to present any evidence. But the people who might be able to present evidence are uncontactable because the company's gone into liquidation.
Neither company is contactable.
We can't get hold of the current landowners on. Okay, so really the evidence that we can consider is the evidence from the people who have put in statements.
There was evidence there was submissions by the landowner, the current landowner, that are included in the report and included in the appendices.
Yeah.
But they didn't actually provide anything that was relevant.
Yeah. Thank you. My only other question is again, so this request was put in 2006 or something. Have the people really been waiting 20 years to get this resolved? Or 18 years?
Well, currently there's access into the south field that people still use from the local community, because clearly the landowner that blocked it in the past hasn't blocked it currently.
Okay, so
but it's now blocked in the part that's owned by BCC Parks. So there's still been some access, but just not all the way through.
Okay. Well, from my point of view, I'll be happy to go along with the recommendation of the officers in this one. Strange case again.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm happy to second that.
Thank you, Chris. Okay, thank you. Any more questions? well done. Should we take a vote on that? Can we have a vote, please, on agreeing to go forward with the DMMO? Thank you. That's full. Lovely. Thank you very much indeed. Okay? Thank you. Moving on, we go to item 8, which is Ridge Hill. And this is, Tom, would you like to present here? Ridge Hill is an application for Town and Village Green. And Tom is going to present the case. Thank you.
Good afternoon. This is an application made in 2022 for an application to register Ridge Hill as a town village green. There was a committee meeting on the 22nd of January, and it was decided that the committee needed further information to enable them to make a decision on the determination of the application today. I could go through what of course there's the legal test of what the application must reach to actually get for the committee to grant the application, and it's under section 15 of the Commons Act 2006, and the application was made under the application was made under 15.2 of the Act, and that is that it's been used for lawful sports and pastimes for 15 years by a significant number of inhabitants of the locality or the neighbourhood within the locality. The use has been carried out as of right, and that the qualifying period conforms to the above, should be carried out with the requisite period for the purposes of a particular application under consideration. No problem. And so the report is before the committee, and I don't know if you want me to explain anything further before.
We could have the committee ask you questions if you like. We've probably
yes, of course.
That would be possible.
Yeah, I've only got one question. I've seen that there's 1, 2, 3, 4 options to what to do.
Yes.
I've looked through the report, and I think to a point, it looks like the evidence to a point, the four things it's got to prove is proven within the report. So
yes, Councillor. Yeah, my apologies. I should have just really those options that you've mentioned. That within the council's procedure, the options.
4 options we can use, but there's 4 things. Tests. And I think now, reading everything through, that it does actually meet all 4 tests. So I've got no problems with going with number 2, where there is no similar conflict of evidence, to grant the application of the town of Village Green. So after reading this through, and I've read it through a few times, I think that's where we are with it, to be honest, because I can't see a problem now.
Thank you, Liz. Well, that's a good start. Christine?
Yeah, Chair, this is the second time this has come back, isn't it? Because we...
Yeah, that's right.
There are 4 tests, 3 of which the officers are saying have been met, and then there was one element, which was the consultation, that where yourself was a bit, maybe we need to get an inspector to look at this.
That's why it's good to put it to an independent inspector for them to to examine the evidence and write a report, and either recommend it goes to an inquiry, or the committee can just take on the report. And it's, of course, it's the inspector makes a recommendation to the committee, but that is one of the options. Yes.
So my question is then, is there anything further that an inspector would see that is not in this pack? Because I'm where Councillor Jackson is right now.
Yeah. No,
however, if there's more, because the first time this came in, there was a lot more stuff that you didn't include, and you just said, put it to an inspector.
Yes.
It's come back because you said, well, show us everything.
The application, the witness statements, the photographs, and anything surrounding that has been supplied by the landowner. Everything, as you say, which is in the later pack for this committee.
So the question then becomes, on that one limb, are we satisfied that the evidence on the balance of probability shows that it's been met? That's effectively what we're making a decision on. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Christine. Any more questions?
I'm happy to move to the vote.
I'm happy to support that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. You want to take a vote, please? Everyone say aye. Is there in favour? Thank you. Thank you very much. Me too. Thank you very much. Listen. Okay. That's quicker than I thought it would. Yeah. So we're going on to John. Would you like to finish on this?
Okay, so one technical issue on the Stoke Lodge litigation, and that is that legal services want one member of the Proud team to refer to and speak to, rather than convening exempt sessions of Proud all the time. I think our last meeting we suggested the chair himself, but legal services want one person. Tess was standing down. I may be stood down, but I may be back here after the second day. So the suggestion is that I fulfil the role until the next Proud meeting, when obviously there will be a new Proud, and obviously at that point there could well be a new person adopted. But this is just a cover period, if people are happy.
Yeah, I'm happy to support that.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And take a vote, please. Thank you. Thank you very much. That's lovely.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have a final, just a small project that I've been working on that I would like to put before everyone here, actually, because it was a town and village green that went through in 2014 in Ashton Vale. Those of you who live in North Bristol may not know Ashton Vale, but it's a small sort of part of Bedminster ward which has been cut off by 2 railway bridges. One of them is recently gone, which means they've got their bus back. And back in 2014, they have a wetland area which is much loved, and there's a series of houses that overlook it. And back in about 2009, the land was actually owned by Ashton Sport, and they decided they were looking for land to build a stadium, and they started researching this marshy area, and the residents, and these are people who, well, they've just fought to get their bus back. They certainly know how to conduct a protest when they need to, and they fought for a number of years, and it was pretty tough. And eventually, a barrister from Clifton came in, and I'm told, took on the job as a pro bono work, and it got pushed through. The Longmoor Village area, which has now got outline planning, they weren't successful, but the marshy area, which is also SNCI, is now a village green. And I brought in some MA students, architecture students from University of West of England in 2022 to help me write a report. And they've done a report about how the area could be conserved but also restored for public use. Not because it's SNCI and it has a really impressive list of migratory birds and also resident wildlife. And I would like your approval to agree that we should be going for some funding to restore the marsh and to fulfil this brief. I haven't sent it round because it's a PDF and that I can't do it on the council machinery.
I'm slightly confused.
Why am I telling you?
I'm really confused. So you've brought a report to us which we've got no sight of, and it's not on the agenda.
It is on the agenda. I'm sorry.
It hasn't come via
an
an officer, and you want funding for it.
No, I don't want funding for it. I want your support to put in funding. I want you to. I'm happy to send you the report. I couldn't send it through because our council system doesn't take.
Sorry, I'm still slightly confused.
Yeah, till I can see the report and know what I'm going to be voting on, I couldn't do it again.
No, I understand.
I mean,
don't know what
is this chair's business? You're bringing it as chair's business, or is it?
It's not on the agenda, is it?
No, it is. It is. Ashton Villa project. Chair provide verbal update.
Sorry, I am seriously confused because are you
I
bringing this as
understand.
chair's business? This is obviously a pet project of yours, and I'm not sure what mechanism. So if I have a fancy in my ward, can I bring that next time?
The reason that I brought it is because it is a town and village green, and because the land is actually owned still by Ashton Sport. Because with town and village greens, the one that we've just approved, that land will always remain with the owner. So the issue really is, what can be allowed with the town and village green if the owner blocks what you want to do with it? I went to Ashton Sport to ask them if Ashton Vale's marsh could be restored and that I would raise funds for it. And they said that it wasn't the appropriate moment. Now, my question, and I talked to John about this, is this something that we can, is it in our power to look at the maintenance of town and village green?
Are you talking through SIL? Are you talking through SIL mechanism? Or where's this money coming from? You're proposing?
It's a private award. It's an award that's given to wetlands. It's part of the.
I'm sorry. I might be missing something major here. But I'm kind of slightly confused.
Yeah.
No, I can see that.
Sorry.
Yes, I hoped. What I hoped was that I could send you around the report.
You can't do this on a bump. You just can't bump things through.
No, I'm not trying.
Sounds like you are.
You're sitting in the chair and you're just pushing something through that you've got sight on. It just was like, I'll bring something next time. Just to bring something.
Okay, Jess, I take your point. It's a good point. Okay. You agree with this, John?
I think without the report it's very difficult. I don't know why the report wasn't circulated.
It's because I can't do it on the council system because they won't allow it.
But it's for officers to circulate the report, Tessa.
Exactly.
You don't have to worry about the systems.
No, okay. I think that's basically any other business. Is there anything else that councillors would like to bring? No? In that case, my closing remarks are thank you to the committee, thank you to my co-chair, a very large thank you to Steve Gregory, who keeps us all in order, certainly me, and to all the residents who pleasure to be your chair. Thank you.
I'd just like to thank our council officers, because I'm standing down. I think Duncan's been here, how many years have you been on this? Yeah, you were here when I first came on in 2006, so I'd just like to thank the officers for all the help, assistance and everything that you've given us over the time. Can I have that minute, please?
Yes, please. I wanted to say actually congratulations because you pushed through two very large schemes, capital development schemes, which is the Sea Mills 7-way and the Strawberry Lane line. So thank you for that, and thank you as well for your steadfast commitment to the committee. Thank you everybody. Say goodbye.
Cheers everybody, we're going back.